So our fourth panel is focusing on CIO truths on AI's everyday blind spots, right? So they're going to focus in on real data, real users, real budget, and when something breaks, what to do, right? And there's a lot of pressure, and it was hinted on in our during our governance panel that there's pressure from the board, right, to create value around AI adoption. But how do you get beyond pilot purgatory, right? So it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator. He's an expert in growing companies tenfold, Reddy. And he opened up our morning session and he was really insightful. He's going to be joined by Jay Smith, a board executive at AEG Fuels, who was formerly CTO of Verizon Value and the CIO and head of innovation at TracFone Wireless. He's going to be joined by Sarma Malladi, an enterprise transformation executive and CIO for nearly 2 decades for 3 public companies and a private equity-backed enterprise. And our fourth contributing panelist is Dr. Soma Venkat, an SVP and Chief Information Technology Officer at Cooper Standard and a board director at Liveline Technologies, who leads AI and digital transformation across global manufacturing. Ravi, bring us home. The stage is yours.
All right. Alice, as always, thank you so much for introducing the panel. I'm super excited for this panel as I have a very esteemed panel today. I'm humbled to be a moderator. I have an easy job to ask the toughest questions. But my only hope is that my panel will not give me a LinkedIn answer. They're going to be candid about what they really feel. Because the purpose of this discussion is to bring these esteemed CIOs and technology leaders who have diverse set of experience to give audience the real truth on the ground, right? So, I have a manufacturing CIO in Soma whom I've known for decades and has been a CIO, successful CIO for many years. I have, Sarma Malladi, who is an intellectual capital. He's from IITs of India. I've seen him bring disruptive transformation in manufacturing and technology. Today, he's operates at a private equity, managing some of the high growth portfolio companies as a technology leader. And of course, Jay Smith, if I tell less, that's better about him because, he's a disruptor. He's worked for Fortune hundreds. He's led some massive transformations. He now sits on the board. So he's sitting on the other side of the table. So that gives us a different context. So with that, thank you so much, Jay, Sharma, and Soma for joining today. Yeah. All right, let's get started then. Okay. I just wanted to open it up with a question for Sarma because he's now in private equity and working in portfolio companies as a technology leader, and we know that when there's private equity, significantly more pressure on performance than public limited, if I say, because there's significantly close watch on things. So Sarma, working across these companies, gives you a very good vantage point, right? So what's the blind spot in AI adoption you see that is repeated itself across multiple companies, whether regardless of industries or that most single company CIOs never get to notice?
First of all, Ravi, thank you for having me. And I guess the best way I would probably answer this question is it just doesn't matter the type of ownership. Is it a public company or is it a private company? The challenges relative to becoming a true AI native enterprise are the same. When you don't have a robust foundation to take full advantage of AI, why? Organization knowledge, again, regardless of industry, regardless of the type of ownership, is distributed across systems, spreadsheets, emails, meeting notes, policies, and most importantly, the experience of their people. While humans are good at navigating this complexity remarkably well, AI cannot. An agent doesn't know that two regions have defined a customer return differently unless someone has taught it. It doesn't understand that a product code changed after an acquisition, or that a business rule exists only because experienced employees have followed it for years. So, this is less about just data readiness and more about lacking enterprise memory. So, that's why actual outcomes are falling significantly short of the promise. So, to truly become an AI native enterprise, it is important for all organizations aspiring to be there to strengthen the key interconnected capabilities. Very similar themes that you were emphasizing in your keynotes to turn the promise of AI into a true sustainable business value.
That's a great point. I mean, let's take the cue from there to make the AI a sustainable business value proposition on a long-term basis. To Soma has seen this play out many, many times in various transformations in the past. Now, AI, we believe, is a different beast altogether. So, Soma, coming to you, every manufacturing CIO has a story, right, about an AI use case that looked great in demo, right, but fell apart against the real plant data, the legacy ERP systems, and so on. So, what's the pattern you've seen behind why that happens? And what separates the pilots that survive from the ones that don't for that sustainable scale? Like, what have you seen?
Great question. Thanks for making me in this panel. Great to be with Jay and Sarma as well to learn from them. Great question again, Ravi. I think most of these things fail at the pilot level because enthusiasm is high, number one. Number two, when you talk about manufacturing companies, people jump into solutions in AI before understanding the business process, right? That's the biggest first challenge which we need to address. And there's an assumption somehow that if I'm doing AI work and if I have a solution in my desk, it'll work in a plant. These two are not true for various reasons. One is the plants are not built the same way across. Each one is different. So the second one, which is important, at least I'll give you an example in my company. We had an idea where we did a closed loop process with AI to reduce scrap. We have a $120 million scrap problem. We said, how do we reduce it? We looked at the solution outside. We are not getting it. We talked to a consulting company saying, hey, I don't have the expertise. Let's get them in. They came in. They get a great solution using linear Markov, this and that, and put nice models out there. And it worked well on my digital twin, which I have created it internally. When you go down there, you realize that the optimal solution, for example, I'll give an example. I had to run at 80 ppms to run this. When you go to the plant, it won't work 80 ppm because it's an integrated system. I do it 80, it's too fast for my next processes to work. You completely miss the piece of that without understanding the entire picture. You cannot do number one. Number two is the solutions you are providing need to come from them. The successful ones have been ideas where the plant involvement is ahead. It's very early, right? Number one. Number two, I mean, this is probably tailing down to what Sarmaji said here. If you have to take an area where one point, which we talk about success and not success, it's the amount of data you have, the accuracy and the correctness of data you have. So easy way to remember is you can't have a good AI without a good IA. No AI without IA. You need to have information architecture set up first. Your plant information architecture needs to be set up for the plant AI to be successful, right? And more to come in these discussions.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Soma, because, whatever you just said, I'm not sure if the board understands the operator's challenge. So let's challenge Jay because Jay, coming to you sat on both sides, right, of the table, running a technology as a CIO or CTO at scale, and now advising boards. What do when you look at AI adoption from the board seat versus the operator chair, what blind spot do directors in the boardroom consistently miss that operators live with every day?
Yeah,
In continuation to what just Soma said, what do they miss?
good question. First of all, thank you, Ravi, for having me. Excuse me, my voice is a little hoarse, so hopefully everybody can hear me clearly. Thanks, Sarma and Soma. I couldn't agree more with what you said about business engagement, data quality, et cetera, and having a foundational architecture. Back to your question, Ravi, the board, well, the ones I sit on as well as advise, they're looking at things, as you would imagine, at a much more macro level. Yeah. And so it's not about the technology, it's about the business outcome, and it's about how it impacts the business model, or their customers, or our customers. And so they're looking for the value derived from the investment, right? And they don't fully appreciate they're beginning to, the evolution's happening, but the risks that are involved with AI, especially with the aspiration of a fully autonomous enterprise, and especially when we start talking about agents taking actions and human in the loop and the requirements there, they don't fully appreciate the need for that. They're super excited about realizing the value, but maybe under indexing the risk. On the operator side, it's the reverse. The good operators, okay, the people that really have experience in AI and implementing it successfully and taking pilots to production and seeing the value at scale, appreciate the risks around agents and authorization and personas of agents, as well as the risk of an inaccurate answer going to a customer and the liability that comes with that, right? There's many cases, public cases, I won't mention any of the companies' names, where they gave false information to customers and they were held liable for that, right? So the operators have a more appreciation for the details of the execution. The board is more macro. I'm hungry for the value. Go get it to me. And I'm seeing a convergence in the two, especially as I engage with my boards. I'm helping educate them on both sides. Be excited about the value, understand the risk.
Jay, that's a great point. I mean, you've kept emphasizing on, and as a board, they are also very conscious about the risk that it comes with, right? You've kept emphasizing that, and you also, let's. So, Sharma, you having, been part of the private equity portfolios, which runs on a tight value creation timeline, right? How does that pressure change the AI adoption playbook, right, compared to the traditional enterprise, which are not on this 3 to 5 year hold and exit clock? Because the risk increases when you have pressure of exit.
Absolutely.
And the operator for a traditional enterprise versus operator for being an operator at a private equity, you've been on both sides. How is that?
Yeah. Great question. But before I answer that one, perhaps one comment I want to add to Jay's response. Absolutely. The challenges and the complexity may not necessarily be understood by the board, but honestly, it is our job to really make them understand what it takes and not just describe the complexity and the problems, but even suggest ways to tackle and the support needed. to overcome those hurdles. I guess, that's the role that needs to be played well so that you bring all the parties together to do this together successfully. Uh, anyway, so coming back to your question on speed on delivering value, you're absolutely right. PE is all about from the time you acquire a company, how quickly can you build value and how quickly can you flip, right? Because if you think about it, every $1 million you drop to the bottom line, from a valuation point of view, it's perhaps 16 to 20 millions, right? So the value scale from a valuation point of view is significant. But at the same time, the timelines are short. Average acquisition to flip is 3 to 4 years. Now, the real challenge is where are you in the maturity cycle? Be it your processes, be it all your foundation, how strong is it? And is it at a position where the organization could truly take advantage of these newer and smarter technologies to deliver significantly additional enhanced value? If that's not the case, especially when it's a carve out, a portion of it from another enterprise where a lot of energy gets spent in just breaking that umbilical cord, right? And then you lose a lot of time by the time technology enablement wise, you're kind of an independent company, past TSAs and whatnot. And then now if you need to focus on transforming and then delivering value. Now, in a PE world, there is that quick decision making, willingness to invest both in resources, giving you the funding that is needed to deliver that value. But two things are very critical. One, it can't be soft, cushy benefit. It has to be a hard benefit, number one. And number two, it can't be over an elongated timeline between implementation and realizing that value, it's going to take 4 years. Then it may not get the attention and the support it needs versus something that is perhaps a quick win, but truly moving the needle significantly where it is translating into significant enterprise value. So it is a challenge, and a lot of your success pursuit of these newer and smarter technologies to some extent is dependent on where exactly is that specific organization in the maturity cycle.
That makes sense. Yeah, no, that's great. So Soma, coming to you, you mentioned some very interesting aspects of rolling out a transformation like AI, where it is so important to get the factory and the business involved for it to be going beyond just a pilot or a POC. Now, I know I've seen you, Soma, successfully embarking on major transformation, whether it was a ERP, whether it was cloud or chat RPA. I've seen you do that across the globe in multiple languages, 50 plus factories and so on. Now, taking that experience and now you're obviously embarking on AI. So scaling an AI from one side to over 50, sometimes it can be a graveyard of most manufacturing pilots. Right? So what's the real playbook that you think for taking something that works in one plant and making it work everywhere across different data, languages, and local processes, especially when it comes to AI?
I think we are actually in a better position with AI than the other technologies we have. Tell you, we're pleasantly at a point where you always have the three-legged stool, where you have the scope, cost, and time. You touch one, the remaining two goes the other way around. You can touch all the three with AI. This is a fabulous time to be in at this point, number one. Number two is, you rightly said, I mean, taking a solution which is available in one plant or even one line and scaling it up requires similar discipline like how you had it all other transformations to some level. The advantage there is speed and removal of some of our old habits. These are the two important things I see. One is remove some of the old habits we have built all these years, saying I need to have a PMO, I need to set this up, I'm going to do a file, I'm going to do a test, I had to do all these things. You can do all those things in a 1/50th of a compressed timeline, right? Number one. And you can increase the scope. And you don't need to have everything fixed before we start. That can come halfway in. So there's a lot of agile and all those good things we built across are now built involved into that. So the first piece is about breaking up our old habits. The second one is taking those things which are still right. I'll give you one example. We did one project, not about a plant, but also one commodity in purchasing. We did an idea about how do we do this, do it better, take the scope, get material costs, do negotiations and things like that in a pilot. That took me like 3.5 weeks. I got something, it's great, working, right? So the data is all in Excel, I put everything in, I get it, it's working, it's great. I see a real value. The point Sarma said, a real value of saying tangible benefit of saving X million dollars on this. It took me 2 years, a year and a half to put it in production across all my product lines. You have to be realistic on certain things, not because of the fact that the technology doesn't work, but the technology works on one level, may not work when you go into the data. The data is different. Exceptions, you cannot have an exception in AI more than 10%, right? You have to move from 1 sigma to 2 to 3 sigma. 3 sigma is okay, it's never 100%. 2 to 3 sigma is better. So that's the level you need to really bring it up. So in my mind, if you want about scaling, first thing is break your bad habits. Second is make sure what is working well for you, enable it, and set up some realistic expectations. Realistic doesn't mean 10-year projects, right? I think everybody is a private equity now. Every board is a private equity board. They're all looking for not only doing it in 3 to 4 years or 5 years turnover with a 15x EBITDA, it's also something better to say that I'm trying to build a system which I know it's going to die. You're now setting up a very clear expiry date for systems you build in. That's a completely different mindset than what we have done for the last 30 years. We're building systems we're going to outlive us, and SAP projects and ERP projects taking 30 years. Those are gone. Let's build something fast. May not be accurate. It can be out. It's okay. It did its job, now retire, right? So that's a mindset. I think exciting times to be in right now. Right?
Yeah, no, fantastic. So it's beautiful. You actually gave a beautiful framework for CIOs who are in similar situation, who want to roll out global. And you also set the context of the mindset. And, no better guy when it comes to sense of urgency on transformation than Jay. Jay, you led the shift from legacy prepaid telco infrastructure into, most modern, right? Innovation-driven system at scale. What's the real playbook for getting an organization's people and processes? Because I know you never looked at technology from technology. You also looked at culture, people, processes. Now with AI, how does this how do you now get organizations, people, and processes ready for AI, not just the technology itself? What's your take on that?
Great question, and I couldn't. Just tremendous insight from Soma. Excuse me. Thank you for that. So when I think about process and people, I come back to my agile ways of working, and it's not just a way of working; it's a mindset. It's a way you think, right? And Soma talked a little bit about this, the MVP mindset, right? Don't let perfect be the enemy of good, right? It needs to reach a certain level of accuracy, and it needs to drive the value that we expect because of the investment we're making. So I think from a people perspective, it's mindset, it's not being afraid to fail, it's iteration, it's customer centric in the middle, being clear on what problem you're trying to solve, etc. From a process standpoint, it's being clear about where the pain points exist in the process and which ones are the most painful And those are the areas that are going to drive the most value as you automate through either generative or agentic AI. And so from a process perspective, that's what I would say. And then the technology, we all need to understand, and I think we all do, that we are on an exponentially accelerating curve of tech. Just in the last 12 months, if you would have asked the majority of the technologists leadership down, that we would be as advanced as we are, and the appetite for additional advancement would be as large as it is, I think everybody would say they are surprised. And so the technology is there. A lot of the people and process areas that I've focused on in my career about empowering people and about making sure that they feel part of the solution, the business-led transformation, because there's outcomes for customers, employees, and shareholders. Those things need to continue to be emphasized. And where they don't exist, to Soma's point, we need to break old habits. But that's been my recipe for success.
Fantastic. I'm envious that you leapfrog from a CIO to board and you didn't take the CEO role. Because here's Soma, whom I always believed he's a CEO material. And hence he chose the path of going into private equity because he thinks like a CEO. So Sarma, you're an operator with significant capability to be a CEO, not just as a CIO seat. So how has the thinking, like a future CEO, changed the way you evaluate AI investment versus how you might have evaluated them purely as a technology leader?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Depending on your role, what you focus on and what you drive, obviously there is a slight shift, right? As a CIO, the strategic partnership with fellow executives, the CEO and the board, the focus is always on knowing what are the short-term and the long-term business goals. How do you work with your peers and the board to identify, implement, and not only just technologies, but identify those new business model opportunities, new way of doing things. As an example, if in the revenue growth space, if the aspiration is to do more, see more, and win more, how do you leverage technologies that are available to you to enable the enterprise achieve those business goals? Same way with the COO on how do you lower the cost of making to improve the profitability? Or with the CFO on how do you close the books faster and provide the insights the rest of the management is looking for. It's all about excellence in the way you operate, right? And how do you partner with them in leveraging technologies to achieve those business objectives? That's where the focus typically, spent majority of your time. But as you transition into the CEO role, the shift is more on, in addition to operational excellence within the enterprise to enhance customer experience, better way of doing things, the products and the services that you bring to the market, what could you possibly do with the newer and the smarter tools to generate significantly more value for your customers and hence become significantly more attractive to grow the business, right? Now, the shift from physical products to complementing them with software services has already started. Now with AI, how do you turn them into more intelligent technology services that complement your physical products to generate significantly more value for your customers? Thereby, you are also expanding your growth at a much rapid rate. So that's the shift that I see executive roles, especially aspiring to move to the broader and higher level of responsibility and accountability to take technology based companies, technology products and services based companies to the next level. That's the shift I think one needs to make.
So just to continue on that point, is it fair to say that if CIOs don't put themselves truly in the CEO shoe, they cannot and they should not expect their technology leadership team to think with a founder's or a owner's mindset? Because if the business model has to get disrupted, the first thing CIO has to do is feel like a CEO.
Yeah. If you just talk about the capabilities of the technology, that's when perhaps people are not necessarily going to listen to you, right? But if you really speak about the art of the possible now, what was not fathomable 10, 15 years ago, similar things that I'm sure many have experienced when internet became available, right? What couldn't be done before, what wasn't fathomable before, now you could consider. Mobile technologies, connectivity everywhere. That led to identifying new business operating models. Same thing is true for AI too, but perhaps now the scaling of the size of that opportunity and hence the enterprise value is significantly more compared to some of those earlier evolutions. But
Great point.
The game needs to be played the same way.
Same way. Yeah, no, makes sense. Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think, we've seen this. And Soma, I mean, you've been in manufacturing for the last decade or so. And, we all know that manufacturing is extremely capital intensive businesses. One of the most capital intensive, if not, right? Now, how should IT leader be making the case for AI investment when they're competing with these budgets against machines and plants and hard infrastructure, especially because we've seen this, right? Even the cloud transformation, when CIOs went to CEOs and CFOs asking for funding, they were always comparing against all the other capital investments with the cloud. So given that, is anything changing in the way, how do you create a business case for AI, which is competing with this versus other capital investments in manufacturing, especially, Soma?
I'll tell you something which is substantially changing for a few reasons. Okay. To take into account, traditionally, you go for a cloud and say, I'm going to change cloud. I'm going to say my IT cost is going to go from CapEx to OpEx. Okay, great. It's your problem. Okay, wonderful. Or if we go ahead and say, hey, I want to do the ERP, all of us have sold ERP for a long time. And most of the time you say, I'm reducing inventory, I'm reducing this and that, but you don't see the value. People are really used to not seeing a value out of the investment. The best sale of ERP investments has been that it's a roof over your house. If you don't have it, it's no other option. It's mandated right now to have that piece. It's changing completely with AI. I'll tell you, to add on to what Sarma said, AI, I think Andrew Ng, I'll quote him, he said beautifully, saying AI is like the electricity. It's not even like the internet. It's like the electricity. The companies which are going to benefit are not the companies which generate power alone. It's going to be all those who benefit from using the power. A refrigerator company, television company, hardware, software, everything. It's a phenomenal change. And that same in manufacturing is no different from that. So we don't go and sell to AI as an investment saying that, guys, I need to do it this way. It's not going to go anywhere. To say, I need this X million dollars, give it to me and I'll show you benefit in 2 years. It's not working. I think what you need to say is, what am I doing to them from their process, from their change? So RPA did help somewhere in process, but it really didn't move the needle as much without AI. So the intelligent process automation, which is using AI right now, is where the real value is having. And it's not a push today, to be honest, Ravi. It's a pull.
For sure.
Because it's very, very fast. I can do a POC and show them a value. I don't need to wait for 6 months, 1 year. You show me the money today, I'll show you in a year later something. And then by the time your business model changed, I'm giving something which doesn't fit in. That's change. Okay, you have a problem in inventory, give it to me. I'm going to show the data and tell you that, hey, these are the places you're going to go reduce. These are the customers you need to talk to. These are the vendors you're going to talk to. They see value immediately. They're asking for more. I'm not selling. As bad as it is, I always sell. It's not as much as selling or telling. It is saying, guys, can I manage the demand? Am I focused on the right thing? That's a real question we need to do. I think as IT leaders in AI, we are here to talk about 2 or 3 aspects. First aspect is look at the things, what's feasible, what's not. So when I do my POC, I get 1,000 ideas, right, from ground up. And the ground up ideas are great to some level, right? As I think Henry Ford said, you go and ask them what they need, they'll say faster horses. Most of these things are faster horses ideas, not a car, right? They don't have a vision to see that piece. So most of the time we are saying top down, what are the options we give? What are the areas I want to really focus on to either, to like Sarma and Jay said, either reduce costs or increase revenue? Either internally to your current customers or disrupt adjacently or completely in different markets. So look into areas where you want to focus on. What's your specialty? What do you do? So prioritize those things out there. That's the value what CIO brings in. Because we know the AI models, we know what's possible. Certain things are not possible. I talked about from 1 sigma, 2 sigma. If I'm doing invoicing, I can't be almost correct. I have to match to the penny. I cannot say I'm going to give you $100. Okay, $99 is okay. No, I need to give you 100. Certain things work well, certain things don't. We are in the best place to provide that thing. Second is security, right? First is helping to prioritize which works, which will not work with the best based on our experience. Second is security. What is real, what is not? There are certain things you don't want to put it out, right? And we just hear about what OpenAI and whatever Hugging Face and all those things. We are aware of those things. Be aware of those, put it out, and that's where the CEO value you're going to provide, right? To Sarma's point, if we can look into other angles completely, and most of these companies have AI tools, you can make it into a profit. How can IT be to start with be a profit? Then you transform everything out there from there, okay?
Got it. So basically what you're saying is there's a whole shift in the mindset of how CIOs have to start looking at and asking the questions and so on, right? So, which is a very important point. One last question to Jay, and then I want to ask the toughest questions after that, like which is going to be rapid fire.
Nice.
So before we get into the rapid fire, Jay, as a board level advisor now, right? How do you coach leadership teams to ask sharper questions about AI, ROI, and risks, right? What's the one question you wish more boards asked before green light on AI initiatives?
So before I answer that, I want to come back and just summarize the PE example. Every company is a PE, right? Whether they think they are or not. They might not want to sell or exit, but they need to show the value, and everyone is expecting 20, 30% year-over-year returns, right? On return on invested capital as an example. And I also agree, Soma, around the not selling. Like the appetite is insatiable for AI and the value it can bring. And that is a great position for every leader to be in. And the technology leaders on the call and listening in, we are in a unique position to lead because we know where the technology is taking us. And if we think like CEOs, think like the business, right, leaders, then we will be able to be projected more rapidly than most other roles in companies. Yeah. The one question I would say that I encourage the board to ask on an AI investment, whether it's AI transformation large scale or whether it's a smaller investment on a particular specific use case, is really go deep in terms of what am I trying to solve? What is the value going to be? And show me the ROI. And specifically on the ROI, we haven't talked a lot about this, but cost optimization. Everybody is coming from this mindset, and it's starting to evolve, but AI is technology. I'm going to be able to generate millions of dollars of cost savings. I'm going to be able to repurpose or potentially reduce my workforce. But what they're not thinking about enough is the token utilization, how you optimize the cost, how you use the right model for the right prompt or the right problem. And I think when you truly look at the ROI, and there's been many companies and case studies where businesses have made investments in AI expecting to see a certain return. The cost side was not properly estimated or understood, and then the return is not there. And so I think it's a focus on being clear on the problem you're trying to solve, make it use case specific, and then really go deep in terms of ROI understanding, and then measure it. And if it's not returning the level of investment you thought, you need to pivot, right? Just like in our agile mindset, we pivot, we tilt, we make adjustments based on what we find as we deploy products and services.
Ravi, if I may add, I want to actually flip that question. If you're the modern CIOs are expected to be strong business executives combined with deep technology expertise. So I would not advocate CIOs waiting for the boards to ask questions. Don't be reactive, be proactive. Go suggest where the opportunity lies, what the organization needs to do to realize that value, and what support is needed from the board and rest of your peers. Take lead, be proactive, don't wait. Don't wait for them to ask a question. That would be my advice.
Excellent point.
And not only
that's
that,
a great
guys,
point.
The one more thing,
Ahead,
Ravi, on that is, it used to be that I need to know technology, I'll go to Claude and ask for code, but I can ask Claude and Gemini the business process question, it answers that too. So it goes both ways today, right? It doesn't have to be that a business process leader or somebody who's my chief manufacturing officer asking a question about technology and learning. IT folks can learn not only business process, but also business solutions from this. That's a huge thing. It's not 100%, you have to be always watchful, but that is available. And so it's, as to Sarma's point, no excuse not to get more into the business, right?
I agree, especially not in today's.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, it's like, this is a great point, right? I mean, if the moment the board or CEO comes and asks you, that means it's already too late. I think that's the point, Sarma. This is exactly what Steve Jobs said. Don't ask the users or customers what they need. It's don't be a mother who is waiting for the kid to cry before she gives the milk, right?
Yep.
You want to be that proactive. Now, having said that, Jay, since you're smiling a lot, so let's take you first.
I love it.
Jay, if you could give CIOs just one piece of advice for succeeding in the AI era, what would it be? 30 seconds.
30 seconds. I would say embrace the journey. No, it's not going to be perfect. You're going to learn. That's the whole point, right? But we should be leading in our roles as CIOs. We should be coming with the art of the possible, and we should not be fearful of the risks, but we need to manage the risks, right? And I mentioned some of the risks in my previous, questions and answers, but I would say just you need to lead. Now is the time to lead, and we could not be in a better position as CIOs, CTOs, etc., to lead because of the way the trajectory of the technology is accelerating.
Can't agree more. Can't agree. I think what you're saying is it's the first once in a lifetime opportunity for CIO to move away from being considered as a cost center and lead now. You could be the new CEO. Yeah, fantastic. Soma, what is the one AI use case you believe every enterprise should prioritize right now?
It's a very tough question. I don't think there is one. I'll tell you the answer, there is no one. It depends on you. Every company needs to have their own specific business case on this. I would only tell you one thing. What's the litmus test for that? Address the biggest problem. Never shy away. I think if you have one thing you can look into, go find out what is the biggest problem in your company which is helping it not to grow, and address that first. Don't take small problems. Done. Take the biggest problem, and I think you can do it.
I would just add one more thing.
Take the most impossible. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Ravi. I wanted to add one thing. I would add to what Soma said and say, have a vision of not just POCs and pilots, but have a vision of an architecture and a framework that can scale, because it is going to be needed. And so a lot of folks take and it's a good idea to have pilots and POCs and proof of values, but you can't just have those, and you'll end up with Wild West, and it's not going to connect, and it's going to have inefficiencies. So plan for the future, have a scalable architecture.
And Jay is right.
Soma,
We
you
had
want
a
to finish the
separate
thought?
session
Yeah.
on technology. On technology, you had a separate session on saying what's your architecture. I did not address that specifically for the CIO. We have to have that architecture saying, guys, where are you looking at? What's your framework for agentification? What's your framework for growing? I think you have a bunch of those things, but I think your main piece is pick up the biggest problem, because I'll guarantee you most of them won't want to touch it, right? You have an easy path into it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but AI can help you to move faster, much better. And if you fail there, you're still going to be way up than taking a small problem like summarizing an email or creating funny, nice documents. Okay, so I think go for the real value-added problem.
Can't agree more. Fantastic, Soma. Sarma, looking forward towards 2030, what is the one thing about AI that you think most technology leaders are underestimating today?
I guess, how are you preparing the organization to take advantage of the exponential capability AI is building, not only what we have today, but how it could explode in the next 5 years or 10 years, whatever the time horizon is. But are you positioning your enterprise to really take full advantage of that? If you read a lot of these news articles, I'm sometimes amused by some of the picture depictions they make. Like, you're trying to take a Ferrari and go at 200 miles an hour, you want to drive, but what you have is a mud road with a lot of potholes. So if you don't truly strengthen the foundation, prepare it to take full advantage of it, then even though that engine is become extremely powerful, you as a company will not be able to take full advantage of it unless you are lining up all the core layers to be AI ready. So that's what I would actually encourage leadership team to really focus on. Models
Yep.
are going to change, and perhaps whatever AI solutions that you build today, 5 years from now are going to become a lot more simpler and a lot more powerful.
Yeah, the other
Fantastic, Soma.
gap I see with that also, Sama, is there's a lot of discussion about this at the board level. Is my organization ready? Are my people ready? What are the skills I'm going to need tomorrow that I don't have today? Right? And positioning not just the technology architecture, but also the organizational model to be able to have the skills that it requires to amplify and deliver the value behind AI.
Great, Jay.
No,
Yeah, we are
that is
on
absolutely right.
on.
We didn't talk about people. People is core, but I'll put it this way, saying that when you talk about data, that no AI without IA is important. Without an information architecture, you can't have an artificial intelligence strategy. People is in the center, right? It's not outside. It's not replacing. It's actually very much in the center. How well we use it is going to be between successful companies and not, right? That's really going to be the litmus test.
Absolutely, guys. So great. I think as you've shared so many great insights. Wisdom is flowing graciously, and hence I'll take this initiative to create a CIO's advisory council with this CIOs here, and we'll create this advisory council that is available to this audience and beyond to really brainstorm and evolve together. And I think there's so much perspective that we've really got from three great panelists today. So Jay, Soma, Sharma, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing some great insight. You guys killed it. Yeah.
Thank you for having us, Ravi. And
Thank you.
certainly, I know I like the idea of forming this group and providing an opportunity for the audience to reach out. One other thing, perhaps some of you may have noted on LinkedIn, I am also publishing a series of articles on what some considerations and what interconnected capabilities organizations really need to be prepared, building, making them stronger to become a true AI native enterprise. So that's another source. Certainly want to highlight, people may want to check out.
And hey, I just want to say the reason I'm smiling so much is because we are in a tremendous place in history. And I think when we look back 20 years from now, this is going to be a pivotal moment that we all, the ones that take action and capitalize on the opportunity, are going to really benefit from.
Well said.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much. Have a
you.
wonderful rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. All right. So I think after that panel, we're all getting future ready. Thank you. Lots of wonderful insights. Much appreciated.